We got friends and family, huh? I'll tell you what, just kind of come up close if you want. Oh, you're already here. We can go in the other room and just talk if you want, huh? Well, I'll make it real brief then. Obviously, this is anticlimactic after that press conference they just had. That was pretty impressive. But, you look at last week, and I really believe our players were very physical and gave a great effort until the end of the game. I don't think you can fault them for that. The problem is that some of our players just didn't perform well enough, and that's what it really got down to. And, of course, the biggest problem, as I mentioned after the game, was our kicking game was disastrous. It really did us in. And, I know people realize this, but we work extremely hard in the kicking game, meeting-wise, practice-wise. We're doing everything we possibly can to rectify the situation. And, we're evaluating schemes, we're evaluating players, we're evaluating our coaching, we're doing everything. But if you look at it, our kicks were bad, our punts were bad, our coverage was terrible on our kickoffs. We didn't stay in lanes, we didn't contain guys. One of the first kickoffs we had a chance if we make a tackle or contain to keep them inside the 25 and they run it back to the 40. And, we just didn't do a very good job of that. And then our kickoff return wasn't very well performed either. We didn't do a good job of blocking. It doesn't matter how good you run the ball. If you don't block, you can't run it. And then, of course, we missed an extra point. We had a bad hold, and he started his kick a little too early, and it threw him off rhythm. And then we committed a cardinal sin. Thomas Woods does our punt returners, and I see him daily talking to the guys to stay on the 10-yard line, never back up, and we fumbled a punt. And that kind of did us in right there. It would have been 20 to 13 instead of 20 to 20. But the onside kick thing is something I wanted to talk about. They scored the field goal, and then they came back and onside kicked. And I think there ought to be a rule put in place, because you talk about defenseless players. That ball hit and went up in the air, and Joe was waiting for it, and the guy drilled him. That is a penalty. It wasn't called, but that is a penalty, okay? It's helmet to helmet, and it should have been called. All right? Now, I'll say enough about that, but I really believe there's got to be something done about that onside kick where it hits and goes up in the air against a defenseless player. Joe's got a concussion, probably won't play this week, didn't play the whole game last week, so there's something wrong in that, okay? Field position killed us. I mean, the kicking game, we keep emphasizing it to our players, really put us in a bind. They get the one kickoff return, they go down to the 8, our defensive lineman's offsides, they get the ball on the 4, then they score a touchdown. We fumble the ball, as I mentioned, on the 4, and then we had a receiver catch the ball, they pick it out of his hands and run for a touchdown. And then the one trick play, we were in man coverage and they throw a double pass and hit a touchdown. That's hard, because you got a man, you're supposed to cover your man, yet when they throw the ball, your reaction is to come off and go tackle somebody. But if you look at it, like we talked to our team Monday, that's 28 points. So you take away those 28 points, it's a heck of a different football game. But anyway, that's enough about that one. I'll answer any questions in a while. Rice is 2-7. They're 1-4 in conference. They beat Houston 34-31. And if you look at these two schools, we're probably more similar than anybody in the conference. I know last week they talked about us and Southern Miss being a rivalry game. Well, when it's all said and done, I think Rice and us are probably the biggest rivalry in that everything is kind of equal. The same amount of students, same kind of facilities, academic reputations, so on and so forth. So anyway, this feels more like a rivalry game to me than any of the ones we played previously. Plus, we play them every year. We don't play Southern Miss but every other 2 years. Statistically, you look at it, and both the teams are very close statistically. We might be ahead of them in some; they're ahead of us, but it's right there for each and every one of us. The only exception is their punter, Kyle Martins. He averaged 47 yards a punt and 40 net, so he's the number one punter in the conference, and that is the only thing that is really different between our two teams, in my opinion. Our captain this week is going to be Chris Asunu, starting defensive tackle. He's from Texas, and he's a good young leader. Injury-wise, Darryl Farley has a quad contusion and a hamstring pull that happened in the game, but he's probable. He's going to be able to practice hopefully a little bit. Eric Jones is still doubtful with the ankle. He tried to go yesterday, couldn't push off on it, so he's probably not going to play. Casey Robottom has a hamstring, didn't play the whole second half. He's doubtful. Brock Sanders had a concussion. He practiced a little bit yesterday, so he's probable. Tyler Helm had a concussion, and so did Joe Kemp, and the doctors are testing both of them today. Hopefully they'll be able to play, but they're both questionable at this point. Kendrick Washington has a turf toe. He played 9 plays and didn't play the rest of the game. He's questionable. Steve Barnett still has a hamstring. He's out. And Alex Loricella has a hip and a groin, and so he's probable. So, having said all that, what questions do you have, Tammy? Right, and we talked about that. There's a real possibility that Rome may get a chance to kick again. We're doing punt return today, and then tomorrow we'll do kickoff return, and there's a possibility that we may make some changes. Plus, we're going to make some changes probably in some personnel. We're going to look at that. Not right now because we're going to practice it. Yeah, so we're going to evaluate them in practice. Yeah. Well, he had a little bit of a problem that it was an internal thing that we decided not to start him. It wasn't a big deal, but I just wanted to show him some discipline, and maybe he won't jump off sides if he has more discipline. But anyway, yeah, he just needs a little more discipline, and that's why he didn't start. I don't know if I'm supposed to say, I'm not supposed to comment on that, but I've got a response. But yeah, I'm not supposed to comment on those things. No. Oh, I'm happy with the response? I better not comment on that either, but it doesn't do me any good now. You know, that's the amazing thing about officiating. You know, you turn in these plays, and then the supervisor returns it to you, and they either agree or disagree. And of course, when they agree with you, it really upsets you because it should have been called, but nothing happens. Yeah. So anyway, we keep doing it. Yeah, there's no question. I think the big thing is the players themselves. You know, we as coaches are trying to be positive and continue to coach the same way we do, win or lose. And I think they appreciate that and respect that. And it's up to them. They know it's up to them to go make the play. We can't catch the ball. We can't catch punts. We can't block. We can't tackle. We can give them direction. We give them guidance. But when it gets into the game, they're the ones that have to perform. And I hate to put it that way, but you know, we can only do so much. And if there's someone to blame, then yeah, blame me. I'm the head coach, and I'll take the blame. I got big shoulders. But you know, we got to perform, and that's the point I'm trying to make. You know, you see the game like everyone else. You know, we make some mistakes that shouldn't be made. I did mention that hamstring, very doubtful. Very doubtful. Well, it's a hamstring, so I mean, he couldn't play the second half, so it was pretty significant. You know, otherwise he probably would have been back there to catch the punt. So he's right now he's very doubtful. They told me he's seeing the doctor this afternoon. Matter of fact. Completely, yeah. One of the things we're doing is we're going to put Jordan Sullen back on offense, so he'll back up Ryan Grant at flanker. And Wilson Van Hooser will still back up DJ Banks at the slot. And then we moved Carmadale to the split end position, and he'll compete with Devin Figueroa this week, and we'll evaluate him at the end of the week and decide who will start. Have you watched the games? He's got a lot of ability, but he's dropped some balls, and he just needs to be a little more focused and do a better job. Yeah. Well, I hate to say that. We dropped 3 balls. You know, if you looked at the game, it looked like more. You know, Thomas Woods and Dan Dodd and myself, we looked at it Sunday, and we said the same thing. You know, it looked like we dropped 10 balls, but we only really dropped 3. But there were 3 crucial ones, you know. And as I told them, you know, blockers block and receivers catch, and they got to make catches. Any other questions? Thank you.